This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Isai. Agun Erev Shabbos. This will be our final shiur before the Yom Tov of Sukkos, and we're going to speak about a very interesting concept and a very important, ennobling idea regarding the Yom Tov of Sukkos Haba Aleinu L'Tova. And we will begin with an amazing observation of the Meshech Chochmah Rabbi Meir Simcha, who takes note of the fact that even though when it comes to the other two of the Shalosh Regalim, a certain expression is employed, that expression is absent when it comes to the Yom Tov of Sukkos. Namely, in Parsha Re'eh, in Perek Tezayin, Pasuk Beis, when it talks about the Yom Tov of Pesach, it says, V'zavachta Pesach, Hashem Lekecha Tzon Vakar, Ba'makoim Asher Yivchar Hashem, L'shakein Shemo Sham. It says about the Mikdash, it's the place that God selected to dwell His name there. Or in Parshas Re'eh, Perek Tezayin, Pasuk Yud Aleph, by the Yom Tov of Shavuos, V'samachta l'fnei Hashem Elokecha ata uvencha uvitecha v'yavdecha v'amasecha v'alevi asher b'sharecha v'hager v'yosem v'amana asher b'kirecha v'amakoim asher yivchar Hashem Elokecha l'shakein shemoi sham. It says about the Mikdash, the place that God will choose to dwell His name there. And lo and behold, we move a few psukim later when we talk about the Yom Tov of Sukkos. Shivas Yamim Tachog L'Hashem Elokecha B'Makoim Asher Yivchar Hashem. Interestingly, by the Yom Tov of Sukkos, it says 7 days you should celebrate in the place that God selected, and what words are absent? The Shakein Shemoi Sham. Interesting. The words the Shakein Shemoi Sham do not appear by the Yom Tov of Sukkos. This is the comment, the observation of the Meshech Chochmah in Parshas Re'eh. He says in number 4, by Pesach, and then by Yatzares it says Asher Yivchar L'Shakein Shemoi Sham, and by Sukkos it says Asher Yivchar, and it doesn't say L'Shakein Shemoi Sham. Okay, interesting. Shailas Teshuvos Mari Vayel, he makes an incredible statement about the mitzvah of Sukkah, and he says anyone who fulfills the mitzvah of Sukkah, Hamakaye mitzvahs Sukkah, Ki'ilu nasa shutuf l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'maisa bereshis. If you fulfill the mitzvah of Sukkah, you become God's partner in creating the world. How interesting. Why in the world do you become God's partner in creating the world? I think He did a pretty good job without you. Right? How by sitting in the mitzvah, sitting in the Sukkah, do you become His partner in creating the world? You know, if you had Good Morning America, if you haven't noticed, the world was created a long time ago. Yeah, it's been here 57 now. 70. What are we up to? 77. 77 already. You know, and it's been running quite well before you got here. So how, just because you sit in the Sukkah, how do you become God's partner in creating the world? And this is such an important statement that the Ber Heitev himself, in Siman Tarlat, Sivkat and Aleph, quotes it, Hamakayim mitzvah Sukkah, ki lo nasa shutaf l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu ma'asa bereshis. Now what's interesting is we do find this expression by other mitzvahs, but there it would seem to make, it would be more understandable. For example, the Gemara on Shabbos Kuf Yates Amud Beis says, Amar Rava, v'yitema Rabbi Shua ben Levi, afilu yachid hamispalel be'erev Shabbos, even an individual who davens on Erev Shabbos, tzarich loimer v'yichulu, needs to recite v'yichulu, the Amar Rav Hamnuna, kol hamispalel be'erev Shabbos, anyone who davens Erev Shabbos v'oimer v'yichulu, mala olav hakasuv, ki lo nasa shutuf l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'ma'asa bereshis. The Torah considers it as if you become a partner with God in creating the world. Shenemar, vayichulu, al tikri vayichulu ella vayichalu. That God has not finished creating the world until you got there. So somebody who says vayichulu Friday night, you become God's partner in creating the world. How interesting. Why would you become, and in what way would you become God's partner in creating the world by saying vayichulu Friday night? And the Maharsha explains as follows. What are you accomplishing when you say vayichulu? Basically, you're being made, you're testifying on the creation of the world. So you are becoming God's partner in creating the world. Why? Because yes, God created the world. Yeah, and He did a good job without you, thank you very much. But not everyone is aware He created the world. So by you reciting Vayichulu, you are publicizing that He created the world. And in a way, you're His partner because your contribution and God's contribution are quite equal. You'll say, what kind of partnership is that? If there's one partner who owns 99% and someone else who owns 1%, that's not exactly a partnership. So if God created the world and you're just the one who, FYI, let people know about it, is that a real partnership? And the Marshal says yes. Because what God did is equal to what you're doing. What did God do already? It's not a big deal for Him to create the world. What did He have to do to create the world? Kihu Amar Vayehi Bidvar Hashem Shamayim Nasu. All He had to do is speak. He had to talk. Well, that's what I'm doing when I'm saying Vayichulu. In fact, maybe I'm saying more words than God did when He created the world. And therefore, my contribution and God's contribution are quite similar. And in that vein, when we say Vayichulu Friday night, we become God's partner in creating the world. But still, that begs the question, how by fulfilling the mitzvah of Sukkah do we become the partner with the Ribbon Shalom in creating the world? Okay, let us now go to the holy words of the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Tafresh Lametes Sivkat Amez. Ulefi shekedushas hasukah gedoyla ma'od. The sanctity of the sukkah is very great. Roy lamayit ba b'divrei chayil. One should limit discretionary speech. Uledaber ba, and to speak in it, kiyim kedusha v'Torah, only words of holiness and Torah. B'chol shekain, and certainly sheyiyah zahir uledaber sham lashon hara. Certainly you should not speak in the sukkah lashon hara. Urachilos ushar diburim ha'asurim, and other prohibited words. Now the Chofetz Chaim is warning us and is encouraging us that we should be careful what we say in the sukkah. We should try to limit discretionary talk, only speak words of kedusha and Torah, and certainly we should be careful from speaking lashon hara. Now, why is the Chofetz Chaim telling me this? Is this just a convenient commercial for the Chofetz Chaim? After all, this is the Chofetz Chaim who wrote the Mishnah Berurah, and his favorite subject is Shmiras HaLashon. So is he just taking advantage of the easy opportunity, the free advertisement to tell people, by the way, don't speak Lashon Hara? I mean, he could do this anytime. He could say, by the way, while the shofar is being blown, please refrain from speaking Lashon Hara. Or while you're wearing your tefillin, it would be a good idea, or while you're wearing your talis, it would be a good idea not to speak. Or in Hilchos Tisha B'Av, he could say, while you're fasting on Tisha B'Av, try to avoid discretionary speech and only speak Divrei Torah and Divrei Kedusha. Or for that, while you're sitting at the Seder table, try to be careful what you talk about. Well, why is the Chafetz...
Big difference.
Yeah?
Over here we're living for the whole time. You have to change our... So when you live in your house, you can walk on activities. So we're not just concentrating on whatever you just mentioned.
I mean, because in this instance, since you're living there, and living is an expression of all types of human behavior, the Chofetz Chaim is saying this regular type of... Okay. Or maybe... And also, what does it mean that the Kedusha of the Sukkah is very great? The Kedusha of the Sukkah is very great? Is the Kedusha of a shofar very great? Shofar is just a Chefza Shel Mitzvah. What's the halacha? What could you do with a shofar when you're done with it? Technically, throw it out. Tzitzis is not Tashmishe Kedusha, it's Tashmishe Mitzvah. Tashmishe Kedusha, like Tefillin and Mezuzah, you have to nikbarim, you have to bury it. Tashmishe Mitzvah, Nizrakim, you could throw it away. You could throw away a talis when you're done with it. You could throw away a shofar when you're done with it, technically. It's not Tashmishe Kedusha, and L'chayra, Sukkah is not Tashmishe Kedusha either. Tashmishe Mitzvah. It's like a lulav and esrog. Does an esrog have Kedusha? Not in a halachic sense. Only at the time you're performing the mitzvah. But nobody would say that the esrog has Kedusha. It's a chefza shel mitzvah. So what does the Mishnah Berurah even mean? The Kedusha of the Sukkah is very great. How is the Kedusha of the Sukkah very great? If you look now... what's the source of this Mishnah Berurah? In the Shar HaTzion, he quotes the Shla. And if you look in the Shla quotes the Reishis Chachma. And the Reishis Chachma says in the Shla, in the Masechta Sukkah says, Roi l'chol yirei chet shlo yaschilu l'daber zeh zeh b'veis hakneses b'skeim. God-fearing people should not have regular conversations in the shul, even not at the time of tefillah, so that they should have moira beis hakneses. And if somebody starts talking to you, just respond to them briefly. And, says the Reishis Chachma, the minhag of my Rebbe was, Shaloi ledaber b'toich hasukkah b'mei chag hasukkos elo b'divrei Torah, ki mitzvah sukkah kedushasa gedoyla. The mitzvah of sukkah has great kedusha. How do we know? V'ha'id sha'atzei sukkah chal aleim kedusha. The wood of the sukkah, meaning the schach, kedusha devolves upon them. V'asurim kol zayin, and they are asur for 7 days. In other words, there's a concept. Shem shamayim chal olav. The shem shamayim is chal on the wood of the sukkah. So even though it's only tashmishay mitzvah, for those 7 days, the schach has a certain kedusha, and therefore we have to be careful what we speak about. This is the Shla quoting the Reishis Chachma, and here we have on the sheet the Reishis Chachma himself, who says that one should only try to speak in the sukkah divrei Torah, because the kedusha of the sukkah is very great, and the proof is the atzei sukkah kedusha is chal on them. Where does this come from? This is a Gemara in Sukkah on Daf Tes. Look at number 12. Ta'amar Rav Sheishes mishum Rabbi Akiva minayin liatzei sukkah sha'asurin kol shiva.
Atzei sukkah means it's after the schach?
I think so. How do I know the wood of the sukkah? The name of Hashem is chal on it. Bring me a Gemara in Sukkah. Talmud Mer Chag HaSukkos Shivas Yamim Lashem. V'Tanya Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi Omer Keshem Shechal Shem Shamayim Al HaChagiga. It says Chag HaSukkos Shivas Yamim Lashem. We're making like a hekesh between the Chagiga and the Sukkah. Keshem Shechal Shem Shamayim Al HaChagiga Kach Chal Shem Shamayim Al HaSukkah Shenemer Chag HaSukkah Shivas Yom Lashem Ma Chag Lashem Av Sukkah Lashem. Wow. So here we're saying that the name of Hashem is actually Chal on the Sukkah itself. A remarkable comment. It's where the Shem Shamayim is Chal on the Sukkah itself. It says Chag Sukkah is Lashem. And it's actually chal on the sukkah. Okay, we'll have to maybe one time. Does this only apply to the schach, or does this apply to all the materials of the sukkah and to the noise sukkah and to the walls of the sukkah? Right, so the shaila is it deraisa? The Gemara is making a drasha. Other places we see that it's an inyan of muksa, which is only din rabbanon. So, but the Gemara says in general, atzei sukkah asurim kol shiva, which is different than other tashmishei mitzvah. By the way, I found in at least 2 makaros, I think 3, that there's a concept. We all know the first Mishnah in Sukkah, that one of the requirements of Sukkah is it has to be how tall? At least 10 tefachim tall. Why? I'll bend down and I'll eat in a smaller Sukkah. It says the Gemara in Sukkah Daf Beis, v'she'ena gavaya asara tefachim. If the Sukkah is not 10 tefachim tall, it's pasul. Comes the grandfather of the Chida, the Chesed Li'Avram. I just got myself yesterday, they have all kinds of posters for the Sukkah. Different Gedolim, different Admoirim. So I figured I'm not getting any of the ones that are being big fads. Different posters become very popular. And then I'm getting a classic poster nobody else has. So I got a poster with a whole bunch of Gedolim. I don't think I have, who's on it? The Chida. I got a poster for the Chida, Ravitzel Petterberg. Didn't have the Chida's grandfather, but the Chida's grandfather, the Chesed Avram, writes, ukemoi she'ein hashchina yeredes lamata me'asara, kach hasukkah she'eino gavoya asara eino nikra sukkah. You know why a sukkah less than 10 tvachim is no good? Because there's a klal in Shas, the Shechina never goes below 10 tvachim. And since Shem Shamayim is chal on the sukkah has to be minimum 10 tvachim tall.
Don't we say Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere?
Yeah, Lamaisa, Uncle Moshe Paskind, that Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. There's a Gra in Yeshaya who disagrees with that comment of Uncle Moshe. And he says Hashem is everywhere. Is Hashem in a Makom Tinoifes, in a dirty place, which is actually the central machlokes between Chasidim and Misnagdim. Do we say Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzvakos, Meloi Chala Aretz Kavaydai, like Uncle Moshe? Or do we say Baruch Kavod Hashem Mimakaymai? And some say that's also machlokes, not only Chasidim and Misnagdim, but that we see it's machlokes between the Malachei Hasharis. Some say Kadosh, 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 Hashem says Meloi Chala Aretz Kavod. Some say no, Baruch Kavod Hashem Mimakaymai. In any event,
what's the position of the Chasidim? I'm not familiar with them.
That Hashem's everywhere. Less Makoim, less Asra Panu Minei. There's no place devoid of God's sanctity. Which on the one hand has to be the case because everything exists only because of the will of Hashem. Okay. The Sfas Emes writes likewise, since Shem Shamayim is Sfas Emes in the year 1882, Tafresh Mem Beis, he writes the Shem Shamayim is Chal on the Sukkah, and therefore it has to be 10 Tvachim tall, because the Shechina never descended below 10 Tvachim. Or, okay. Moreover, Rabbi Isai, let us turn to number 24 for a moment. A comment of the Pele Yoetz. Pele Yoetz says, Asher mitam zeh gadla kedushasa kekedushas Beis HaKnesses. The sanctity of a sukkah is like the sanctity of a shul. Why? Where did that come from? In what way is my sukkah like a shul? I already sat in shul for 3 hours in the morning. I left the shul. Why am I now going into a place that has a sanctity? How's it like a shul? So, Moreover, Rabbi Isai, I want to advance to you a concept which is found in 4 places in the writings of the Shem Mishmuel in the year 1918, 1919, 1912, and in another Makom, also another place in there. And that is the Shem Mishmuel advances a concept that actually the Kedusha of the Sukkah is a mayin, is a microcosm, or a semblance of the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash. He writes the Shem Mishmuel in Sukkos Tafresh Ayin Ches, number 16, V'hinei Sukkah Isa B'sfarim Shehi Dugmas Beis Hamikdash. By the way, the gematria of Sukkah is what? 91. Yud Kei Vav Kei, Aleph Daled Nun Yud, the combination of the 2 names of God. Don't ever forget that. Yud Kei Vav Kei is the Shamayim. Aleph Daled Nun Yud is the Aretz. And the Beis HaMikdash combines the 2. The Sukkah are the 2 names of Hashem. The Sukkah is like the sanctity of the Beis HaMikdash. Or, as the Shem Mishmuel writes so beautifully, in Shiurim, in the beginning of Shiurim, we say, Hevi ani hamelech chadarav nagilav v'nismechabach. We say, the king brought us into his inner sanctum, and we rejoice with him. Well, what Yom Tif is the Yom Tif of Simcha? Sukkos. Well, if Sukkos is the Yom Tif that we're nagilav v'nismechabach, and where are we even Nagila v'nismechabach? In the cheder of the Melech. The cheder of the Melech is the Beis Hamikdash. So it says the Shem Mishmuel, even if you do not recognize the sanctity of the Beis Hamikdash in the Sukkah, and you don't see it and you don't perceive it, but your mazel will see it, your mazel will perceive it. Additionally, the Shem Mishmo writes in Sukkos Tafresh Ayin Beis, the Sukkah is like a Beis Hamikdash. And Rabbi Isai says the Zohar HaKadosh, just like the Satan was frantically trying to see if any part of the Mishkan was stolen, because if there was any shemetz of the Beis Hamikdash or the Mishkan that was stolen, the Mishkan would not be a house for the Shechina. That is the psul of Sukkah HaGazol, because the Sukkah is like the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash, because the Shem Shamayim is Chal on the Sukkah. So here we have really a remarkable concept, by the way, which is also found in the writings of the Sfas Emes in the year 1900, Tafresh Samach. The Sfas Emes writes, Samachti ba'omrim li Beis Hashem nelech. What Beis Hashem are we talking about? Look at number 21, the Sukkah. That's the Beis Hashem. Lefi zeh Rabbi Isai, it comes out a wondrous idea that in the Shulchan Aruch of the Arizal, in the Even HaShoyam, the Arizal writes that the table in your sukkah should have 4 legs. Okay? So if your table at home has 4 legs, you hit it big in terms of a Kabbalistic windfall. Okay? So please, no 2-legged tables. Okay?
Tables don't have 4 legs.
Okay? 4 legs. Why? And you should put the shulchan, the table, in the south. And the menorah, by the way, really, if you should try to light the candles in the sukkah where you eat, should be in the north. So, Pillei Plum, why in the world should the table be in the south and the menorah should be in the north? And the Pituchei Choisam, which is a commentary on the Avnei Shem, writes, just like in the Beis Hamikdash, where the shulchan was in the Daraim, and the menorah was in the Tzafain. Right?
What about the Mita?
Actually, here he says the shulchan should be in the Daraim, and the menorah in the Tzafain, like in the Beis Hamikdash. Obviously that's a mistake, because it's not true. In the Beis Hamikdash, the menorah was in the south, and the shulchan was in the north. Actually, the Gemara says in Bava Basra, Hayman, haroitze lahachkim, you want to be smart? Yadrim, face the south. V'simanach, menorah shabadarim. Haroitze lehatzbin, if you want to be wealthy, yatzbin. Right? Haroitze lahashiv, if someone wants to be wealthy, yatzbin, face the north. V'simanach shulchan shabe tzafin. By the way, that's why Jews go to Miami Beach. Why? Haroitze lahachkim, yadrim. If you want to become smart, you go to the south. The problem is the Gemara in Yevamos paskins yesh zika, so it's a little bit of a problem these days. But besides that, anyway. So here we have a comment of the Arizal, where the Arizal says that you should situate and arrange your sukkah the way the Beis Hamikdash was. By the way, Rabbi Isai, Rav Shlomo Kluger advances really a wondrous idea, a beautiful concept, and he says, on the Yom Noraim. Now I'm going to say it a little bit differently. In the Yom Noram, we're all mispalel, we all daven. That what? We all daven that we should be zoiche, that Hashem should return to Yerushalayim and to Tzion and to rebuild the Beis Hamikdash. Well, and we have a concept that when it comes to machshava toiva, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref l'maisa, that if a Jew has a good thought, it's considered as if he actually did it. Well, but that's only if your kavana is l'shem shamayim. If it's really a machshava l'shma, then Hashem is mitzaref it l'maisa. Says Rav Shlomo Kluger in the Kilas Yaakov in Drush Chav Daled. But if a person has a good machshava, but his machshava is not l'shem shamayim, Hashem is not mitzaref it l'maisa. However, Rabbi Isai, how do we know if when we davened on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, if our kavana was really and truly l'shem shamayim? So Hashem tests us with the mitzvah of Sukkah, because the mitzvah of Sukkah is a microcosm of the Beis Hamikdash. If we truly wanted to build the Beis Hamikdash on the Yom Noram, then we would be able to go outside of our homes on Sukkot and sit in this mini Beis Hamikdash. And then if we're able to do so, God will be mitzaref. He'll combine our good thoughts by by us demonstrating our noble intentions when we go out to sit in the sukkah, which is basically a mayin, a microcosm, a semblance of the kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash. Moreover, Rabbi, it comes out mamish beautifully that by all the Yomim Tovim, by Pesach it says, what is the Beis Hamikdash? Makom asher yivchar Hashem l'shakein shemai sham. The Beis Hamikdash is a place where God has chosen to rest His name. It says that by Pesach, it says that by Shavuos. And lo and behold, by the Yom Tov of Sukkos, like we point out in number 3, it says the Mikdash is just Makom asher yivchar Hashem, and it doesn't say l'shakein shemai sham. You know why? Because on the Yom Tov of Sukkos, when we talk about the Beis Hamikdash, we don't have to say the Mikdash is Makom asher yivchar Hashem l'shakein shemai sham. Because you know where God has selected to rest His name on the Yom Tov of Sukkos? In the Sukkah itself. Because the Sukkah itself is the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash, is a miniature Beis Hamikdash. And therefore points out, Rav Yerucham Oshin, actually very interestingly, my friend, who's one of the Mechavrim of the Yerach L'Mayadim, Moshe Gruen, he sent me a special edition last year, a pre-edition of the Yerach L'Mayadim on Sukkot. This year they came out with 2 beautiful editions. But we have on the sheet the collector's item edition from last year. And Rabbi Yerucham Oshin wants to answer very beautifully that the reason why it doesn't say L'shakein shemai sham by the Yom Tov of Sukkot is because, as we know, the Sukkah itself is the Makom asher yivchar Hashem. It's me'ein the kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash. It's a miniature Beis Hamikdash. That is the Makom asher yivchar Hashem l'shakein shemai sham. What a beautiful explanation. Well, in the Shas Tshuvas Mishnas Yaakov, look at number 25, Chelik Beis, Siman Tafresh Lamed. He brings down a halacha from the Pri Megadim that also you cannot make your sukkah a kapandaria, a shortcut. Why would that be? It doesn't say that if you have to get somewhere, you can't cut across your Seder table to make it as a kapandaria. Why? You're not allowed to make your sukkah a shortcut. The answer is because just like a Beis HaKnesses, just like a Beis HaMikdash cannot be made as a shortcut, so too you cannot make your sukkah a shortcut. And it comes out very beautiful. That's what the Pelayoyetz also means in this vein, that the Kedusha of the sukkah is like the Kedusha of a Beis HaKnesses, because we know a Beis HaKnesses is also a Mikdash Ma'at, va'ei lahem l'Mikdash Ma'at. Moreover, Rabbi, so let's just think about one item. And that is, why in the world does the sukkah have the kedusha of the Mishkan and the kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash? Why would that be? Why is that so? Why, in fact, is that the case? That the sukkah has the kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash. So Rabbi Sai, the Yom Tov of Sukkot always comes back and reverts back to the holy words of the Vilna Gaon. We have a shiur called the Vilna Gaon Revolutionizes Sukkot. This is literally, in my mind, the most important yediyah when it comes to the Yom Tov of Sukkot. The Vilna Gaon on Shir HaShiurim. We'll say it very bekitzer. This is something that really ennobles your heart when it comes to the Yom Tov of Sukkot. Every Jew has to be very familiar with this. And that is the famous kasha of the Torah. The Torah in Siman Tafresh Chafhei asks, why do we sit in Sukkah? Leman yedu daroseichem ki basukos hashavti esnei Yisrael v'hoitzi oisam me'eretz Mitzrayim, so that all generations will know that God situated us in Sukkos. Well, ask the Torah a very obvious question. If it's to commemorate, Rabbi Sai, if we sit in the Sukkah to commemorate the fact that God sat us in Sukkos, then we're doing it at the wrong time of the year. When did God put us in Sukkos? When did God give us Ananei HaKavod? In Nisan. So we should eat matzah in the Sukkah. What in the world are we doing eating in the Sukkah in the month of Tishrei? We got the calendar flipped around. We're completely farmished. Why in the world would we sit in a Sukkah if it's to commemorate the Man Yedu Darasechem Yivasukos Hashavti Yisrael? We should sit in the Sukkah in Nisan. And the Torah says, well, if you're going to sit in Nisan, it's not going to be clear why you're sitting in the Sukkah. The weather is good, so The Vilna Gaon says, no. Don't give me this weather business. It's very nice in the Sukkah in Eretz Yisrael in the month of Tishrei. And the Vilna Gaon says a beautiful idea. The Vilna Gaon says we don't sit in Sukkos to commemorate the fact that God put us in Anani HaKavod when we left Mitzrayim. We don't have holidays to commemorate miracles. Then we should commemorate a holiday for the man. We should have a holiday for the Be'er of Miriam. You know why we sit in the Sukkah? When we left Mitzrayim, God took us in Anani HaKavod. Whippy-doo. He also had Makas Dam, and Makas Fardeya, and Kinim. There are all kinds of countless miracles that God performs for us. Says the Gaon that Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Har Sinai on Shavuos, and he came down on Yud Zayin Tammuz, and what did he see Klal Yisrael doing? Klal Yisrael were worshipping the Egel, and Moshe Rabbeinu took the luchos. What did he do? He broke them, and God said, "Shkoyach, attaboy." Hashem said, "I am so happy with what you did." And Hashem said, "Look, I'm through. We're done. I'm going to destroy Klal Yisrael." Moshe said, "No, don't destroy us. Then erase me from your book." So Hashem said, "Fine, I won't destroy you. But look, I go my way. You guys go your way. Hine shalachti malach lefanecha. I'll send an angel, and I'll do my thing," God says, "and you guys do your thing with the angel." And Moshe said, "Oh no." And you know what happened? Hashem said, "I'm not with you anymore." And Rebbeinu Shalom took away the Anani HaKavod. And the Anani HaKavod left. Moshe Rabbeinu davened, Hashem, forgive them. So Hashem said, "Okay, let's try again." Moshe Rabbeinu goes up Rosh Chodesh Elul, and he comes down on Yom Kippur, and Hashem said the two magic words, Vayomer Hashem, Salachti Kidvarecha. Hashem said, "You're forgiven." And Klal Yisrael said, "Yeah, no." Hashem said, "What do you mean, no? You're forgiven. I have no problems with you anymore." And Klal Yisrael were devastated. Because as Rabbeinu Yonah says, it's not enough for a Jew to be forgiven. Because you could forgive your friend. Imagine you have a best friend. You used to hang out together, used to go out together, used to enjoy each other's company, and he insults you and you're not talking to him, and then he asks you for mechila, and you say, "Machalach, machalach, machalach." Ober lamaisa, you're not going out with him anymore, and the friendship is not there like it once was. So when Hashem said, "Salachti kidvarecha," Klal Yisrael were devastated. And on the 11th day of Tishrei, Hashem commanded that we should build the Mishkan. And on the 12th and the 13th, they brought Nedavos. And on the 14th, they collected them. And on the 15th day of Tishrei, guess what came back on the Mishkan? The Anani HaKavod. Sukkos is not a commemoration of the miracle of Anani HaKavod. Sukkos is a commemoration of the return of the Anani HaKavod. And it's not the miracle of the clouds of glory. It's what they symbolize. They symbolize God had not only forgiven us, but the relationship was rekindled as it once was. Let's get the math. On the 10th day of Tishrei, God forgave us. On the 11th, He commanded us to build the Mishkan. On the 12th and the 13th, we brought Nedavos. On the 14th, we finished bringing the Nedavos. On the 15th, the Anani HaKavod returned. The 15th day of Tishrei symbolized the Hashras Hashchina in the Mishkan. So when we sit in the Sukkah on Sukkos, what are we commemorating? The return of the Shechina to the Mishkan. Well, if we're reenacting that experience, and we're reliving that experience, and we're recapturing the return of the Shechina to the Mishkan, then every year on Sukkos, in our miniature Beis Hamikdash, in our Sukkah, the Schach and the Shechina return. Our Sukkah is a Me'ain Hashem, it's a semblance of the Kedusha of the Mishkan and the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash. So, when you're sitting in your Sukkah, feel, be perceptive that Shem Shamayim is Chalal ala Sukkah. We in fact are reliving the sanctity of the return of the Anani HaKavod. Wow. It's Oyom v'Noira. And that's why the Arizal says, put your Shulchan in the north, put your Menorah in the south. just like the Beis Hamikdash. That's why the Sukkah can't be less than 10 tfachim, because li'olam lo yard shechina lamata me'asara. So let's add the following idea, a beautiful idea. Mamish oyer menorah. When the Mishkan was built, it says, "Vayhi v'yom kalois Moshe lehakim es hamishkan." Mar Rabbi, so what does it mean? Vayhi v'yom kalois Moshe lehakim es hamishkan. It doesn't say lehakim hamishkan. It says lehakim es hamishkan. That he built another Mishkan with it. Which Mishkan? A Mishkan that's called Oyel. Which Mishkan is called Oyel? The Mishkan of Ayimtachim Ka'oyel Oshaves, the Mishkan that he stretched it out like a tent. Meaning, before the Mishkan was built, the world was flobbly, was roises, was teetering, was wobbly. When the Mishkan was built, it gave stability to the world. Vayhi b'yom kalois Moshe lahakim es ha-Mishkan. Something else went up with the Mishkan. What was it? The world. Until the Mishkan was built, the world was wobbly. The world had no stability. The Mishkan is what gave kiyum to the world. The world was not built until the day the Mishkan was erected. That's a Medrash Rabbah and Nasei Parsha Yud Beis Ois Yud Aleph, as well as an Ois Yud Gimel, where the Medrash in the Ois Yud Gimel, look at number 29, the Medrash draws a parallel that the Mishkan is equal to this world. The Mishkan is called an Oyel, and the world is called an Oyel. God created the heavens, and what does it say about the heavens? Noite shamayim kaye ria, like a curtain. And what else? What did the Mishkan have? Curtains. Vasisa yiriyos. On the second day, he made a rakiah to be mavdil. The Mishkan said by the Mishkan it says the paroiches was mavdil. On the third day, God gathered the water, and the water was gathered in the kiyar. On the fourth day, there are luminaries in the sky. The Mishkan has a menorah. On the fifth day, there are birds flying. And in the Mishkan, you had kruvim flapping their wings. On the sixth day, God created man. And what does the Mishkan have? Aroin, Adam. Biata hakri v'lechas, Aroin ochicha. On the seventh day, Vayichul HaShamayim. And by the Mishkan, Vatechel. By Brias Ha'olam, it says, Vayivarech Elokim. And by the Mishkan, it says, Vayivarech Oisam. Morav Rabboisai, the Medrash Tanchuma and Parshas Nasai says that why does it say Vayhi b'yom kalois Moshe? Vayhi, says Reb Shimon, is something that stopped and then reverted. What does this mean? When God created the world, He was misaveh that He should have a dira b'tachtoinim. These are the famous words of the Medrash that the Sifrei Chasidim emphasize. Why did God create the world? He was mesaveh to have a dira in the tachtoinim. When He created Adam and he told him not to eat from the Eitz Hadas, and he ate from the Eitz Hadas, God said, "I'm out of here." God said, I was mesaveh to have a dira in the tachtoinim, but you blew it. So Hashem left. He left the 7 rakiim. What happened? He left the first rakiah, and when Cain killed Hevel, he left the second rakiah. And Avram Avinu came, he brought him down a level, until finally God rested in the Mishkan. So Vayehi, the Shechina that God originally rested in creation when He created the world, which He left, it reverted back to the way it was with the Hakam of the Mishkan. So it comes out very beautiful. The Maharivayal writes that somebody who's makayim the mitzvah of Sukkah becomes a partner with God in creating the world. And we ask, 1 second, because I'm sitting in a Sukkah, I become a partner with God in creating the world? Yes, because the Sukkah is what? The Beis Hamikdash, the Mishkan. And we know the day that the Mishkan was built, the day the Mishkan was erected, what else was built, what else was given solidity? The world! So when you sit in your sukkah, and you're sitting in your mikdash and your mishkan, the world is being solidified, and you thereby, says Marivayel, become a partner with God in Maaseh Bereshis. So Marav Rabbi Sai, I'm going to share with you a beautiful concept. The Torah writes, in the name of his brother, that the Shalish Regalim correspond to the three Avos. Pesach corresponds to Abraham. What does it say by Abraham? Lushi, Ba'asi, Ugais. Shavuos corresponds to Yitzchak. What does it say by Yitzchak? The aisle of the Akedah was used for the shofar of Matan Torah. And Sukkos corresponds to, you got it, Yaakov Avinu, process of elimination. We only have one left. Yaakov Avinu corresponds to Sukkos. Why is that? Because it says about Yaakov, Ulameknehu asa Sukkos. On a deeper level, why does Sukkos correspond to Yaakov? The Belzer Rebbe says beautifully. What's the Sukkah? The Kedusha of the Sukkah is the Kedusha of what? The Beis Hamikdash. But not in Yerushalayim. It's Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash in Forest Hills, in Kew Gardens, in Kew Garden Hills, in Hillcrest, even in the five towns. The Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash, Chutz Lemekaymai. What's the Sukkah? Kedushas Hamikdash Chutz Lemekaymai. What do we find by Yaakov Avinu? Yaakov Avinu passed by the Machon Maggid Harakiah. He went all the way to Beis. And he said, Oy vey! I passed by the Mikdash and I didn't daven there. And what happened? Kfitzas ha'aretz, the Mikdash went to Yaakov. What does Yaakov symbolize? Kedushas Beis HaMikdash, Shaloi b'Mekaymai. Yaakov Avinu is the symbol of the Kedusha, the Beis HaMikdash, not in its place. That is why Yaakov Avinu symbolizes the Yom Tov of Sukkot. Yaakov is a symbol of the Kedusha, the Beis HaMikdash, not in its place, as we find the Beis HaMikdash jumped to Yaakov Avinu. And according to this idea, according to this concept, we explain that is why it doesn't say L'shakin Shemoy Sham by the Beis HaMikdash, by the Yom Tov of Sukkot, because in fact, where is the Shechina dwell? The Shechina dwells not only in the real Beis HaMikdash, but actually dwells in your Sukkah. And that's why when you sit in the Sukkah, you become a shutuf with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Maaseh Bereshis, and that is why Sukkot is connected Yaakov Avinu. Let's add one idea, and that is on Yamim Noram, we're Mispalel. Uvechein tzadikim yiru v'yismachu v'shaharim yahaloizu v'chasidim berina yagilu. We say that tzadikim will see and they'll be happy. What will they see and what will they be happy about? V'simloich ata Hashem levadecha al kol masecha v'hartzion mishkan. The tzaddikim will see and rejoice when God returns to Yerushalayim and the Beis HaMikdash. Well, Hashem sees that we can't wait until He actually returns to the actual Beis HaMikdash. Because how long could we wait till we rejoice? So Hashem says, you know what? If you are davening and you are praying and you are yearning to see the return of my Shechina to the Mikdash, I will give you a flavor of it and a taste of it. Immediately after all of those tefillos of Yom Naram, I will give you the Beis HaMikdash itself, in your backyard, wherever you will live, even in Chutz Haaretz, and you'll have a sense for the simcha of what we're waiting for and what we're yearning for, of the V'chein tzadikim yiru v'yismachu. Ma'av Rabbi Sai, with this we could answer maybe the most difficult question about the Yom Tov of Sukkot. We daven in the Berachas Hamazon, Harachaman hu yakim lanu, as Sukkos David Hanoifalas, God raised up for us the fallen Sukkah of David. Basically, it's a tefillah to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash. What in the world is a tefillah to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash doing in the Berachas Hamazon of Sukkot? What in the world does the Sukkah got to do with the Sukkah of David? What, just a play on words? Since one time the Beis HaMikdash is called a Sukkah, so we daven Hashem, please erect for us the Sukkah of the Beis HaMikdash. How does our Sukkah elicit that tefillah of Harachamanu Yakum Lanu Sukkos Davar Nevas? And the answer is quite simple based on what we're learning, is that based on the Shem Yishmuel, the Sas Emes, and the Arizal, that the Kedusha of the Sukkah is actually the Kedusha of the Beis Hamikdash. So we say, Rebbeinu Shalom, you've given us a flavor, you've given us a taste, you've given us a tam. Please, we want the real thing, we want the real Beis Hamikdash. May we be Zoiche, Harachamon, Hu Yakim Lanu, as Sukkos, David, Hanoifales, Bimhera, V'yameinu, Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzayin. Wish everybody a Chag Kosher Sameach and Agun Yom Tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.